Good Monday morning. This is this week's edition of Monday's Motivation. I'm David, your chaplain here at Progressive. Well, this week we asked the question, what did Jesus have to say about money? Well, Jesus actually had a lot to say about money. In fact, Jesus spoke more about money than he did about heaven and hell. And there's these stories in the New Testament that we have, and there are 38 stories that Jesus told. And out of those 38 stories, 16 Jesus used to teach about money. So Jesus has a lot to say about money. And the story that I want to use this morning is the parable of the rich fool, and it's found in Luke chapter 12. So in this story, it begins with someone calling out of a crowd, calling to Jesus, and he says, "Teacher, make my brother give me half of my father's inheritance." And Jesus says to him, "Mister, who made me judge over you in matters like these?" And Jesus said, "Beware, be on guard of even just the least bit of greed." You see, life it doesn't consist of just how much you have. And so Jesus tells them this story. He said that there was this rich farmer who had this really fertile land, and it produced just this amazing, abundant crop. And so the farmer thought to himself, he said, "What should I do?" And then he had an idea. He said, I'll just tear down all my barns, and I'll just build bigger ones. That way, I can sit back and relax and eat, drink, and be merry. But God said, "You fool, for tonight your life is going to be taken, and then who is going to get what you've worked for?" You see, the foolish person is one who just accumulates all of this wealth on earth, but fails to be rich with their relationship in God. Now, here's what Jesus is saying. There's more to life than accumulating wealth. And I want to make it very clear that Jesus is not calling this guy out, or he's not highlighting this story to talk about that wealth is a bad thing. That's not really what he's doing. It's really got nothing to do with the story itself. Because see, what he's highlighting is that it wasn't that the man had wealth, but rather it was the wealth had the man. That everything he did in life was to accumulate more and more and more stuff. You see, there's way more to life than just going to your job as you start today and getting a paycheck and being able to save money and check off one more, want from your list. Another boat, another trip, another car, another truck, another pair of shoes, another this, another that. And those things aren't bad. Jesus just says there's more to life than those things. And so he says about this man, he was a fool to think that he could accumulate all this wealth on earth and take it with him when he dies. But see, this is exactly what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 2:18 and 19. Solomon, who was also a rich man and a very wise man, he also said, I worked and I toiled for all of this wealth, but for what end? Because when I die, I'm just going to give it to someone else that didn't work and toil for those things. You see, Jesus wants us to work in light of eternity. So what are you working for today? How are you doing your job? We can either work to build ourselves up and our barns full of stuff, or we can work toward eternity of making eternal investments. And here's the eternal investment that God says is the most important, is your relationship with God. So there's a paraphrase that ends this story, and I love, and I want to share this with you. There's a paraphrase that ends the story, and here's how it goes. It says that the rich man, he had barns that was full of self, but not full of God. So that's the question today. As you go about your job today, as you go in the field and in the offices, are you filling barns full of yourself and stuff for yourself? Or are you filling your barns full of God and your relationship with God and how we serve one another in this company and how we take care of our clients? See, there are eternal investments that God wants you to make so that you would be rich in Him today. I hope you have a happy, an awesome, and productive work week this week.